This is the Bull Mountain Brothers podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is the BMB Network, and you're listening to the Bull Mountain Brothers podcast. We are your hosts. Sean, I'm calling you out because it's finally your season.
It is.
It's, I guess, if you look at, like, historically speaking, in most states, this is, like, mid to end season. But for some reason, for us and where we live, it's like ice fishing season's finally here.
I feel like typically it doesn't really hit me until like the tail end of January, which is, it's a bummer, but this year hasn't been as cold as it has in the past. So,
Well, I also feel like historically where we live too, it's like colder in February. So like your ice isn't built up. I could be wrong. Till end of January, beginning of February.
it's true because, like, I mean, think about it. The last 2 years, December, it's been 50 degrees before for.
And this
multiple.
December, we're what, negative 30 for 2 weeks, and then
It's been
we've been in the
45.
50s ever since.
Well, I know that when I can't say that this is like the beginning of the season for us because Ramsey and I did go ice fishing over the first, and that particular lake was the 5th fastest. How do I say this right?
Freezing.
Yeah.
Like it froze the whole entire lake froze the 5th quickest.
One of
in
the
history.
first 5 lakes in Montana.
Yeah, which is
And-
like historic.
And talking to the marina owner, he's like, yeah, this is the fastest I've ever seen it freeze all the way across the middle.
Yeah, and so we went once early, but like now, like we have a boys trip this weekend. We're going to talk about. We have a tournament next weekend, a potential Fort Peck trip.
Fort Peck's on for sure. Yeah.
In 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, what the heck, dude? We can talk about the fact that we had a tournament scheduled,
We did, yep.
and it fell through for like personal reason, not personal, but like we just decided against it.
Rule regulations.
Yeah, not like we didn't have a problem with the rules. It was just like one of the like suggestions, just like when we're like, it was almost too much work.
Yeah, for sure. It was too much work. I mean, we've had everything down. I mean, we were rocking and rolling.
We had a hotel earlier than we've ever booked anything, and it was a cheaper situation than we ever had. It was like $58 a night, and it was going to be perfect. It was going to be a cheap trip, and we had food ready. And then, like I said, we just decided. I think it was about a 4.5 hour drive,
Yes.
or a little bit less. On top of that, staying for 3 days, which obviously that's the goal and plan. But to then like get to a point where it just felt like it was just going to be too much, and it seems like in our past that if something seems like it's like not right, you just don't do it because it's not going to go well.
Well, it's kind of like not right, but too good to be true all at the same time.
Yeah. And so now you have all this ice fishing gear. Are we actually going to get you out?
Well, Fort Peck for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we're definitely going there.
Which I'm looking forward to because I think I've like adapted a like for tip up fishing.
Well, I think Fort Peck's going to be outstanding when we go there just because of the fact that we're going with somebody that lives there. I mean, he's full-time resident. He's lived there his whole life. He's, 54 years on that ice?
Yeah. And like I would say normally we don't like to name drop places, but Fort Peck is one of those places where it's like it's world renowned. And I see
so big. I mean, you can have your own spot, but not really have your own spot.
I see a lot of like YouTube creators, influencers, whatever you want to call them nowadays, that do, and they title it, Fort Peck lake trout fishing, or big walleye, big pike. And I would say from my little experience that I've had, there's decent fishing there, but like you could be one bay over and completely miss all the fishing completely.
Absolutely, and that's how come I'm so excited to go with somebody that's going to take us to all his honey holes. And
if I don't know if everyone in the group is going to go. I hope they do.
Well, we got it planned for everyone, and then I think we got like 2 or 3 spots extra.
Yeah, as long as Sean can go, because Sean and I have been talking about for like probably the last year now, to where like we've just been hardcore trying to catch walleye.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
What was that, Granny?
it's kind of a bummer because like years past, like I've been like so into catching walleye through the ice, and it's just I don't know what's happened. Maybe
We haven't really got the chance though.
I think a lot of it though is because like where I moved.
Well, that and thinking last year, the entire ice fishing season, we were here.
Well, I think it's funny that Ramsey caught he caught more walleye out of the boat this year than we have caught ice fishing. Actually, I hate to say it, and if you've been listening to the podcast since day one, you know that ice fishing in itself is a relatively new adventure for Ramsey and I. So like when we talk about our experience, it's very limited, and we consider ourselves rookies still. But I've never caught a walleye through the ice.
It's definitely like I wouldn't trade it for anything. Realistically, I can't really beat. It's just a different fight to me in a sense. Like there's more strategy I feel like that goes into it because I mean you got to know structure, you got to know how to read and understand sonar.
Well, and I would say as someone that just started like ice fishing, and when I started catching pike, going beforehand as someone that like mainly fly fish their entire life, so more of a trout fisherman, I would consider myself. When I started catching pike, it was like, oh, this is super cool. But then you get to the point where you do it for 3 years, and then you realize it's actually kind of the easiest ice fishing. Am I wrong on that?
No,
I don't know if it's easy because like you have to be pretty tedious with how you do it. I mean,
yeah, a lot of things can go wrong, and we had that. What exactly was going wrong with our setups? Like, what kept happening to us?
Well,
when we had
the people that we were with had a way of measuring how deep they were, and we did not. So a lot of our baits were sitting on the bottom.
I don't know if that. I thought more or less that the problem in my eyes is that we had Dad take control of the bait, and he thought that I said that it needed to show up frozen when we got there. So when Ramsey and Dad set up the tip ups, this trip that we're talking about from January, all of the smelt was frozen. And so if you've had the experience with bait like that, it doesn't sink when it's frozen. And also putting the hook in it, like you're putting it into a hard surface, and when it thaws out, it's almost like it like breaks, like it broke from you trying to put it into the hard surface. And then I think what we're having is a lot of fish getting off.
So not to go off on a tangent here, but the way I look at ice fishing difficulty for me is pike fishing, you're setting a tip up, you're putting the bait that you need in that area, you're at a well-known pike spot, and you drop it down, you get depth, and you're done. Now you look at walleye fishing, even trout fishing through the ice. You got to know current travels, you got to know structure depth, you got to know what type of structure's down there, you got to know their swim ways. I mean, and that's not like something where you just go, oh, I'm at 35 feet. I'm good. You got to know what the green and yellow dots that are popping up at half your distance to the bottom, what those mean. And you got to get into the bait placement is obviously with any fishing, style of bait, species, whatever. But there's a lot more to the trout fishing and walleye through the ice than realistically a lot of other fish.
Well, I'd say it's a more active kind of ice fishing.
So I did some research on, we're doing a trout tournament in a couple weeks, but it also has like a kicker thing for tiger muskie, which there's definitely a lower population of. And so I did some research on, because in this particular lake, you're only allowed two lines, 2 hooks per line. Whereas like some of there's some places in Montana, like where we were pike fishing, you could have 6 lines total. But when you're doing these 2 lines things, I'm looking at the best possible way that I can set up a tip up, so I have a passive. Would it be passive? What am I trying to say here? Like a line that I don't have to care about all day. Is that?
Passive.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess that would
I'm
make
a little,
sense.
I'm a little illiterate. We know that by now, but I want something that I have out that I don't have to worry about, that I can depend on, that possibly catching me that kicker fish that I want to get. And so I did some more intensive research on like setups and what I could have possibly been doing. Because I figure in my mind that pike fishing and muskie fishing have to be somewhat similar as far as dead bait goes, and dead sticking and tip up stick. Jigging might be different, but the way I look at it, so I did some research on muskie fishing, and they recommend doing the double treble hook setup on tip ups, which my buddy was doing with the pike and having success with, because from what I learned is the way that predator fish eat bait, like dead bait in the water, is they don't attack it from the front or the top or the side or whatever, or the back. They're going for a fish that's horizontal, and they're going to hit it from the side. And I think that's from obviously being able to sneak up on it better or whatever, but they're attacking from the side. And so that double treble sets a presentation of that sideways fish.
And it also gives you a lot, a better chance of actually catching the fish, because like if you're tiger fishing like off a boat or off a dock, not on hard water season, if you've ever seen how they hit on a topwater or something, they hit and they roll. They almost do like an alligator deal. And so like a lot of the times it's almost like a brush by, where they just, I don't know if they're just that bad with their depth perception of what they're hunting, but they hit and then they do like the alligator roll, and they miss with their mouth most of the time. And that's been my experience, at least with tigers and not hard water season, is it's a lot harder for them to hit, successfully versus pike.
Were you going to say something, Rams? You were looking at me earlier.
I was gonna make a joke because you said double treble, and I was gonna say double trouble, but it ended up being stupid in my head. So I didn't say it.
Was that like a band joke, or what do you mean, double trouble? Is that what it said?
Double trouble for the fish. You said double treble.
Double
right?
treble is double trouble.
Oh,
Yeah.
We should make a shirt out of that. Pull 'em up, brothers. But I guess we have led into this episode. It's a high emphasis on ice fishing, as well as boys trip. These are the two topics of discussion for tonight. And who better than to bring in to talk about boys trips and a little bit of ice fishing, because he's coming with us this weekend, is Lodge crew member Dylan Miller. Welcome back, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
We're trying to do one Lodge crew episode a month now, instead of like throwing them 3 in a row, or one every now and then. So as an honorary member, one of the first, it's glad to have you back, even though we just saw you very recently.
It's an honor.
So yeah, let's get right into the topic of discussion here. I'm going to ask you a question, Dylan, and we're going to all banter off of it.
All right.
What is your thoughts on bringing girls on boys trips, on the guy trips?
Is it really a guy trip if you bring girls?
Well, let me stage
yeah.
let me stage the situation here. And I'm going to give Barstool Sports credit for this, because I actually stumbled upon this on Twitter today. What they were really talking about is, like, imagine yourself. You've set up like a 9-guy trip, right? Super straight trip. And you got everything set up. You got everything planned, and one guy's like, dude, can I bring my girlfriend? And the vibes in the group are all different.
Yeah.
What is the consensus in the room on like how you feel about that?
I mean,
Anyone?
Oh, that was an open-ended question.
That was
Yeah,
open.
okay.
That was open. Dylan, you can hop in. I mean, whoever wants to.
wife, girlfriend, I mean,
Yes.
you spend
Partner.
95% of your time with them.
Right.
I mean, it's good to go have a weekend with the boys and, get back to the old camaraderie of hanging out and having a good time. I don't see anything wrong with it. And I mean, if you feel like you need to bring your girlfriend, maybe you need a guy's trip to yourself,
Well, okay, so here's my question, though. do you feel like like, okay, so let's take, there's 3 married guys in here, right? There's 2 guys in here that have been in a serious relationship before. Would you say that you take, give me a number between basically how many more guys trips you take versus trips with your significant other? Like, what do you think the ratio is?
20-1.
I would say
Wow.
I would say far less on the guys trip, to be honest.
Oh yeah, easily.
Oh yeah.
I would, well,
I honestly think the only way this could work is if like you two were in relationships, a serious relationship, and there was like us 4 and say Dylan came and all the wives came.
Yeah.
That's
I
a
think
way
that
different
would be
scenario.
the only way it could work. I mean that would be like, yeah, I could see that working. Like having Dylan and Ramsey bring a grill. I mean, I don't know that my wife would like it as much as Sean's wife would. That, you know, Ramsey's got the flavor of the week coming on a guy's trip.
I know, but there
Is that how little you think
there
of me,
has
Matt?
to be some conversation about the fact like they're with that guy. So what is the jealousy part? Like what? I mean, women are weird, but
that happens all the time though.
yeah, I guess you're right.
Like I mean, if you put it in the other way, I mean, if Sean's wife and 3 girlfriends were going to Vegas and Sean tagged along, I mean, they'd be like, why the hell?
Why does this loser have any friends?
I mean, it's
Wait. Rephrase that. You're saying that this, like,
All the girls went on a trip, and then you went to Vegas with them.
oh yeah. That
You
it
wouldn't
would
have
be
fun
the
doing
same
that.
way.
You wouldn't have fun doing that.
I don't think I would. I don't. The thing is, though, is she wouldn't want me to go. Is the thing, but that's the same thing for us, right?
Yeah,
'Cause,
we
like,
really want. I mean, no offense to my wife, but I mean, I want to be able to say shit that we're all not going to say with a wife around.
I get that. My thing is like I've been in this situation so many times, and like as you know, I mean, think back to when you were in high school 85 years ago.
Jeez.
Those are fighting words.
You thought that when you were like 17 that you were gonna have the same friends forever, right? Like you
Absolutely.
you're never gonna lose. And see, I'm in a weird situation where I still have a lot of the same friends, but like at the same time, you grow up and you understand like to keep friends is harder than anything else, and because and it's not like an offensive thing, like it's not a fault of their own. Like people get married, people get in relationships, people get different jobs, move away, get kids and whatever.
Well, I guess to me, like the girl thing, like I don't know, like going on maybe like a
let's watch our tongues a little bit here, fellas. All right.
is like if we were going on a fishing tournament, might be a little different bringing the girls with you.
Oh yeah.
Because you got your own motel room, kind of your own space, versus going to the cabin.
Right.
Like, I mean, my wife would love going to the cabin, having a mimosa with us in the morning. I mean, we done that last turkey season. I mean, she'd be all over that. But yeah, I guess I don't know. Like going elk hunting to a spike camp with 2 women would be. I don't know that I'd be into it.
Yeah, that'd be different. But like, I guess what I'm saying is like, so when you're trying to keep your friends, like, I want to include everybody that I can. So like, if they're like, hey, like my girlfriend wanted to do something this weekend, I can't do the trip unless she can come. Like, at that point, I'm gonna be like, I really like personally, I wouldn't care because at that point, she's your guest, whether it's a girlfriend or a guy. Like your cousin or something like that. I wasn't going there, but
Wow.
no. What I'm saying is like
Now it's just getting deep.
If you bring somebody that's not part of the friend group, whether it's the significant other or like I said, a family member or another friend outside the group, your responsibility is to entertain that person, in my opinion.
No. So the girls on a guy trip, I guess we done it. I mean, we done it 4th of July. You guys had your mom and dad, and
Is that
my wife
is that
and the kids.
technically a guy's trip though?
That's kind of like a family trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of, I guess, we did do it, but it's a whole different scenario because we were fishing and tubing, and it was more of a family event, which I think is great. I mean, everybody should bring their significant others and go up and drink on the lake and have a good time. Going hunting, a whole different ball game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But like Dylan, would you say that you used to go golfing a lot, like you and your two brothers with your dad, right?
Yep.
Would you consider that a guy's trip?
I mean, in the summer, I still go golfing quite a bit with my dad and brothers, but usually I count things as a guy's trip because it's things that don't interest my wife. She wouldn't want to go anyway.
Touche on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I find those hobbies, and that's what I do with the guys, because usually she's not heard about it because she wouldn't enjoy it anyway, and she knows that. So that's why I still keep up my guy hobbies, and not being sexist or anything. It's just, you know.
I guess the difference is like most women that would go elk hunting with you, like that would be part of our group that would be into elk hunting. Like I don't have a significant other that wants to go elk hunting. I guess when they do go, like I had a client this year, him and his wife came elk hunting. She was just like another dude in the ranger. I mean, you know what I mean? Like just another hunter. I mean, it wasn't awkward, I guess.
Yeah, so like my take on the whole thing is I think it depends a lot on their personality. Like if there's someone that's going to be super into what you're doing on the guys trip and like they get along with everybody really well, I don't see a problem with it. I mean, if they're into it and they're having a good time, I think when it becomes a problem is like, oh, your girlfriend showed up and she's just being mopey.
Gonna complain the whole time.
Can I give you two situations? And you
Yeah.
let me know if like this is what you're talking about. So I remember a situation when we were in high school, and we went duck hunting with a group of friends that I
Like
had.
a year ago.
No, this is
This is
10
like we were
10 years
both
ago.
in
He
high
was trying
school.
to rebuttal off of my old joke to call me young, but it was like way less offensive for some reason. I wish it was a year ago, but anyways, and they brought like 4 girlfriends. One of them was chill, and then 3 of them, a half an hour in, were be like, "It's cold. I want to go home." And there's like ducks just dumping everywhere, and you're just like, "No, oh my god, this is awful." But then I've had the reverse where they're super into it, and it's just like having one of the boys, like Matt was talking about, where it's just as fun, and you're like, "Well, dude, come next time," because like it was a good time. You were a good time.
Absolutely, that's exactly what I mean.
Wait. Dude, come next time?
What?
Did you end that?
He said do.
Do
Dude. Oh, I thought you said dude, come next time. But, you know.
I don't know what you're saying.
No, like I was.
I don't know what you're saying.
It's Riley you're talking to.
Did you get that?
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
got what
Explain
you
it
were
for me,
saying.
Matt,
Rams.
did you get that? Dylan, did you got that?
I got it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Because it's female.
That's the closest
move
to
past it?
politics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
no, go ahead, Rams.
Moving onward.
Go ahead.
What?
I'm saying, is that what you were saying?
No, absolutely. I mean, if they're gonna have a good time and they're into it and they're gonna get along with everybody, like I don't see any problem with it.
Well, I guess it's no different. I mean, it was my daughter that deer hunting with us this year.
That was a
but
good
I mean,
time.
she had a blast.
No, absolutely.
Well, and even think about like she was pretty like she was the opposite of the girl that was saying like was annoying and shit, because I remember we went archery hunting. I probably told this story on here once, but we went archery hunting once with her this year, and we were calling for Matt way away from where he was at. I would already shot my bull, so like the only main goal was to try and call Matt a bull in, and it was pouring ass rain. And she never complained one time. And I
were stoked, though.
I was freezing my ass off. I didn't, and no one said anything. But then you get to the ranger, and it's like, yeah, this was very cold. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a single problem with I don't have a problem with it. I think it's situational.
Was it a stroke?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
What's
know.
going on.
I feel like a lot of the situation is like it's true because some significant others don't enjoy going and freezing their asses off and hunting. Like that's probably the biggest thing with my wife is she doesn't want to be cold.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and I mean, I can tell her as much as I want that it's going to be, we can make that thing 95 degrees in that ice house. And I mean, she would come. I think she would like it if she tried it. But then again, there is certain things that your wife does and you do.
That you're not going to go out and do because you don't want to
Exactly.
do it.
So I think that I have a different. I think Ramsey and I have different outlooks on this right now because we are single. Whereas,
So, are you getting at the point that You might want a girlfriend to come.
That was a hardcore interruption. He's got something serious to say.
I almost feel like this is something coming up in the future where it's like, hey guys, my girlfriend's gonna come on the trip.
Okay, well,
I don't want to leave her
that's
alone.
sort of
I mean,
what I
don't
was-
get me wrong. I'd like to be dating someone that was.
You know what's funny though is I can see that. I can see
Yeah,
it.
I can see this coming right now.
That's what I'm getting at is I think, you know, as a single man, I think sometimes like I have some friends that do get to enjoy I don't want to always, and I get there's times and spaces for whatever, like, you know, I know you guys share boating and stuff, that's something you share, or you guys share California, or you guys share like you guys watch movies. I love watching movies too, but I also like to see, you know, I have friends that, you know, their girlfriends, they'll go do like a hunt together or something like that, like just themselves and be successful. And really, I think about being in that moment sometimes. It's like that would be cool.
We should call Josh and ask him what he thinks if he wants to bring.
Dude,
his
Josh is gonna
on a dude's trip.
He's gonna think I'm calling him out straight up because his girlfriend went with us to a ice fishing trip. It says
Oh no, she was great though.
She was it was
awesome.
amazing.
That
Like,
would not be the
that's-
first time that we randomly called Josh in the middle of a podcast.
I'm not gonna do that today.
But,
we're beyond
basically
that.
let's wrap up this conversation here about this because
I would just like to add
I think it's great talk.
that I wouldn't mind having a significant other to go with me for the times that Sean ditches me.
So all the time.
Granted.
no, I had a very interesting question to ask our guest actually on this topic.
Okay.
Okay.
Dylan, so your wife is from, I mean, obviously the property that she grew up in the agricultural world is a decent hunting property.
Yep.
Did she ever do any of that?
I don't think Emma's ever shot a deer or anything.
She's never done anything.
No.
Was her dad really into that?
Her dad grew up on a farm right on the Missouri River breaks. So I'm sure he shot a couple deer, but I don't think it's his thing talking to him. He built a hunting cabin and a bunch of outer staters come and hunt every year for him on the farm and everything. So
Isn't that crazy where a lot of ranchers in Montana don't actually... I just think it's because they don't have the time.
a lot of them lose interest at like age 17 and just be like, I don't have time.
Yeah, and I also think like Ramsey could probably touch on this a little more where he hunts. They just did it for sustenance living for so long that once they got to a point where they were financially stable on the farm, it wasn't, you know, the hunt like we think about it. You know, for them it was a way of life.
A lot of landowners though that like we know.
Oh yeah, the main ranch that we hunt on, he's like, yeah, you know, I used to shoot a deer every year, and he's like, I just don't like eating them. He's like, I have a Angus farm. Why would I go shoot a sneaky old deer when I can just go out in the field and pick my next meal?
Was Dave ever like that though? Because he was a cowboy, right? I mean,
When we had chicken, it was pheasant. When we had beef, it was deer. I mean,
so why do you think Dave wasn't like? I mean, obviously he wasn't like a ranch owner or anything, but still, I mean, he worked the how would you say this politically correctly? Worked the fields. I don't, you know, but
worked the
well,
cows.
as far
cows.
as ranches and stuff, I mean, my dad's been doing that his whole life. But I mean, it's exactly like what we just touched on is we went from having to live on it to just live to where he's got beef in the freezer. I mean,
this whole roundabout conversation that we're having, it's funny because we could just ask Dylan because he's a farmer that has family in the area that raises cows and stuff like that. So you guys, like, did you guys enjoy eating game when you were, because you guys hunted and stuff, but
Most of my hunting interest came from my mom's side, which is in Moore, Montana, near the Snowies. The Miller side, which is in Guilford, where I grew up, none of them really hunted much. They're all big cowboys and stuff, and we got cows. My dad won't even like walk in the kitchen if we're cooking deer. Hates the smell.
really?
Yep.
So he won't eat it at all?
No.
Wow.
No. He might eat some jerky if you don't tell him. then he eventually finds out, and you know, why'd you give me that crap? You know. But
Do you consider yourself a hunter? Like,
Yeah, not as much as I used to. I haven't had time to get home much and do actual hunting. Last year, the turkey hunt was maybe the twice I went last season.
Mhm.
One time I was home over Thanksgiving, went out deer hunting just for the afternoon, just to get away from the family and hang out as me and my brothers. Yeah, when I move back, I'm sure I'll do a lot more of it again. I took my brother out this year because he, is finally he bought a house and everything, and he's like, I need some meat. I can't afford to buy a quarter of a beef, half a beef. So we went out and shot a buck, and he processed it himself, did sausage and steaks, and I turned out pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
He was pretty excited.
Do you think a lot of the reason that like you kind of quit was because you had basically your own acreage that you could do, you could do that outdoorsy thing on, versus when you came here it's like, well, where do I go? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was a big part of it. The first couple of years, my grandpa still lived in Lewistown, so Dane and I would go home a couple weekends and grab him, and he's like, we're going deer hunting. And he loved just driving around looking for deer. He didn't really care if we shot anything. But, I mean, it was good quality time to spend with Grandpa. Dane and I were one of the last ones to get to go hunting with him because now he's, physically can't or anything. So those memories were more than anything, was just going and kicking around. And, I mean, we shot something, but, just hanging out and being there for that last chapter of hunting.
Well, we touched on that in the past on this podcast, is like not shooting your deer the first weekend. Like I'll carry my tag till I have to shoot something,
Mm-hmm.
or I'll eat the tag just because if Riley shot his elk the first weekend of archery and I shot mine that same weekend, what the hell am I going to do now? I don't get to spend the next 4 weeks out there.
Yeah. And I don't know, Ramsey and I definitely are a lot different than most. Like, and I'm getting to a weird, super weird, I don't know what brought this on, but I almost like won't eat beef anymore. Like Ramsey and I eat, I think what did we decide? We're eating about
I will.
2 to 3 pounds of 2 to 3 pounds of elk every week. Get that out.
Sorry.
Get that out.
Snuck up on me. No, it's more than that. We usually get between 4 and 5 pounds a week.
Yeah, and I don't know, like the taste is like I've switched taste. It's so weird. Like I had beef, and I'm more or less, steaks is a much different, like much different
Would you
situation.
eat more when you're growing up?
Beef for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Because like as Ramsey and I have talked about, as long as we've been hunting, our opportunities for that kind of thing were so much less, just based on, Ramsey and I did sports all the time and stuff. So we didn't get to go hunting.
He did the
as
weekend
much.
thing.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did the weekend thing for a
Yeah.
long time until I was probably 19 or 20.
How many that you just answered my question. How many consecutive years do you think that you have eaten majority elk over?
Probably
At least
4.
the last 4. Yeah.
4, yeah. And I seriously don't know what changed it, but now I like, and like this is way more specifically on like cube steak and ground meat.
Mm-hmm.
I just
Did
I
you
like
guys try any of your sausage?
yeah, and that too. That's we've only been eating that for breakfast, and there's a part of it too where it's like, you paid for it, so you really want to,
Yeah.
you really want to
Yeah.
use it. But like I haven't eaten. I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't eaten beef in probably
About
5,
a day.
probably 5. Oh yeah,
Dave
sorry.
grilled us up some burgers, and I will say,
Can we bring this up? This is actually in our notes. Ramsey and I. No, this is a whole. We'll have this conversation, but we're gonna have to do it after we finish this conversation.
Do you know what gets really good is I had Dave, we went to Custer, and we promised the folks in Custer meat, some elk meat. So I have Dave bring over a big bag of hamburger because that's what they wanted. I'm like throwing like 10 packages of steak. Well, he had another little bag, and there was a bunch. I mean, he had probably 40 pounds of hamburger. I'm like, oh, shit, I'm going to take a few of those with me. Well, it was all sausage.
oh man,
So we gave him like 20-some packages of 2 pound per package of sausage.
Oh, nice. About like $150
Yeah.
sausage.
I'm like, holy cows, I hope they like that.
So you're saying I should slow down on what sausage I
Yeah.
have?
How much are you buying a quarter of beef for nowadays?
The last one I got was 281 pounds, and it comes out to about $3 a pound. So about $1,000.
It's not bad.
The price is definitely there though, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Well, but I have a in, you know.
No, but I'm saying like the price of like processing an elk is definitely. I mean, the bang.
It's still
for your buck-
$400 for processing.
Oh, for sure.
But it's still it's a quarter. I mean, you're getting an entire elk,
Yeah, you're getting.
and for a quarter of the price.
Nice hat, dude.
Oh, sorry. I can't get it straight. There we go.
No, but I totally agree because I've actually heard. I've actually heard a lot of horror stories.
Someone forgot he's on camera.
Yeah, my bad. That's
Well,
still
but the
kinda new.
difference is with elk and deer or antelope is where you get it processed at. Because if you take it somewhere where they bulk all the shit together and they'll grind, 1,000 pounds of burger at one time, you'll tell the difference.
But that's kind of where we're getting though, is where we're going to start. Like we're getting more towards doing our own cut and wrap stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like I still would continue. I would not stop taking some of the ground in to make the sausage because it's too good and we eat it. Like all of hunting season, that's like a
well,
staple.
and I don't think it was that bad where we had our. I mean,
No.
I have no problem throwing that name out there, but J&D Meats and Hardin.
Oh, yeah,
they
for
do a
sure.
Phenomenal job.
Have you guys done your own sausage before?
I've never done sausage personally, but Ramsey and I one year we butchered like 3 deer in like 2 weeks. We did one for our dad and then one for him and one for I. Or me.
Me works.
Me.
But we did it ourselves and we tried to do it. We did Ramsey's deer, and this is actually I don't know, is that your second biggest deer now?
I don't know.
One of your big deer.
Yeah,
I'm
they're
gonna
all
have to get
big.
the when I get the shoulder mount back and I get them next to each other because I wasn't gonna take the bloody cape and everything in there.
Yeah. So we actually did that one. He shot that deer on a Sunday, and we got home at like 6 p.m. and we cut and wrapped that thing, just him and I.
It was like
About 2 a.m.
Yeah, it was late.
It was awful, and it was a big deer too. Like I mean, it was a big body deer,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's.
What'd you guys mainly do on it?
Well, I actually so I was done deer hunting. Did I shoot a deer? Is that the last year I shot a deer? 2018.
Yeah, you shot that one out west of town. West of town? There.
Yeah, so that was the last time I had even shot a deer. It was like 4 or 5 years ago, and so I had been done. So I was researching on like the side hills and stuff while we were like glassing and whatnot on how to process, but like how to turn rump like actual quarters into different cuts, and so like where you could actually like there's parts of the shoulder or was it the shoulder or the rump? One of the quarters you can actually get pieces of meat out by just like using your hand. You don't even have to use a knife. You can just get them at the seams and stuff. And so like that's how I learned it just by trial and error.
That's what took us so long.
Are you guys mostly doing your own stuff on the farm?
Yeah. Yeah, we let them hang for a couple days in a cold shed and then cut them up. If it's me, a lot of it turns into stew meat because I'm so picky. I don't want any of the sinew white shit. I'm cutting that all out, and a lot of it turns into stew meat. So I just make like little finger steaks, pretty much.
Oh
when I'm
yeah,
cooking it.
It sounds like
Do you ever
like similar to like a Dave move.
Huh?
Do you ever butterfly steaks? Because like everybody does that.
Well, you know what's funny is he brings that up is like even as I do have a lot of respect for Steven Ranella, but like you look a lot of like people like him and people that do like outdoor cooking, and show how to do it. It seems like 85% of like recipes out there.
9 to 80.
I was gonna say 90, but 85% of like wild game recipes, especially when they involve tough cuts, are like cooked for 8 hours.
Every time we have deer, get a pack out, thaw it, and I know we always cook it at lunch because Dad works in Havre in the winters. So, once in a while, Dad won't be around so we can cook it and enjoy it. Beat the crap out of it with a meat mallet. Every time.
Flour it.
Yep. And just fry it up in a pan with some onions and mushrooms and good lunch.
Yeah. That's definitely like a big thing for me. But like even think like say this word for me. It's the shoulder when you cook it for like 12 hours. Osso busco, is that it?
Ossobuco?
Yeah. So even like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it's literally like the shoulder meat. No one eats that a lot. Neck meat, whatever. Throw it in a crock pot. cook it for 55 hours and it'll be good. And it's like, well, anything.
Have you guys ever tried the elk or deer ribs on a Traeger?
Dude, we want to
I
really
haven't.
bad.
Oh, they're unbelievable. Once you have them, you won't go back to a beef rib.
I think what would be really cool is if we could all do, someone would shoot a deer in the group and then we could do it over the fire. I always thought that'd be cool.
I still want to do
Be
the.
a small ass deer, man. That'd be a lot of meat. You better have more than us four in the room.
I'd really like to do like the
We do a whitetail.
liver and heart cook, like where they do like the fajitas with the heart and stuff like that. Like I want to.
I do want to eat more of the organs
Yeah.
because from what I hear, I mean, they're
We'll, you and I'll have ribeyes.
Yeah, you're good at lobster, so we
Yeah.
better just do
So
that.
I do have an opinion on this. I have a hard time eating organs that are not muscles. So liver is a little interesting to me. Lungs,
Heart is just chewy.
intestines. Well, see, I've
Heart's a
never
do
eaten.
people eat lungs?
I've never heard.
People
of
eat lungs. People eat intestines. People eat.
I would. I don't.
It's a little foreign, to be honest.
Why
Like,
would you
it's a
touch
little-
an intestine?
Dude, you like? I think you either slit the intestines open to clean them all out and wash them out, or like you might be able to push everything out. I'm not sure. And then a lot of people will do like kebabs, like where you like coil it like a snake on the kebab.
How many feet does any? I mean, biologically, I can look this up.
I think a
how
lot
many-
of. I'll be honest with you, that technique is mostly done on like pheasant.
How many feet of organ do like deer have?
Oh, I bet it's a lot.
Don't they
I
say
think
the
humans
human
do.
intestines are like? I'm just gonna take a stab at like a couple hundred feet or some shit.
I think you're right.
Well, the intestines are huge because I mean that's what the trappers and the Indians used to live on for pemmican.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, they'd stuff it and then
Native Americans.
they like being called Indians around here.
Um,
Yeah.
and then
Totally
you've,
okay
you've
with
seen guys use the caul fat before, right? To cook with, which is the fat layer surrounding the stomach. That
Well-
stuff does interest me.
Well, back in the old days, I mean, that's what you shot your blackbird and your grizzlies was just to render all the fat. I mean, that's what they cooked with. I mean, that was their lard.
Yeah, and a lot of people do it now.
Wow.
That's also a big jump in like how ranching has come along, because like first generation ranchers, they like kids talk about eating cow tongue and liver and heart and all the everything in the cow, and that's kind of changed because they don't have to anymore. They my mom always talked about my grandma serving cow tongue and she hated it.
Yeah, I've heard stuff even like head cheese. You ever hear about that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the brain and everything.
That's not something I could ever get behind.
Dylan, I'm sorry to fact check you here, but
Am I wrong?
I thought it was way more too, but it's not.
No?
It says here that together a human small and large intestine is 15 or more feet in length.
That's still
That's
a
still
lot.
that's
though.
twice.
I know,
that's
but-
twice
That's
the
still
height.
not a couple hundred, so I was wrong.
A deer's is 28 feet long.
Wow.
That is interesting because I bet
Wonder
their
what an
digestive.
elk is.
But
How
how
do I
big
feel like-
around are they though? I mean, when you stuff them, I mean, it's
I feel like someone fed me
gotta
some
be
wrong
3/4 of an
information
inch
as
or an
a
inch
kid.
around.
Let's see how long elks are.
I had a
Couple hundred feet is a long way away from 15.
I will share this with you, Sean. We'll try it this year. I think we should do it on elk heart.
For sure.
But I had a client this year that sent me a recipe for they do a special thing with heart. It's like a special recipe they do, and I think we
Well,
should.
I have my elk heart, so you can have it.
You do?
So
I kept it for Warren. Remember?
Oh yeah.
does
Yeah.
all heart taste the same as like chicken hearts?
Heart
Is it
tastes like
just
heart.
Is it just chewy?
That's what it is. Heart tastes like heart.
Yeah, just put it in a crock pot for 55 hours.
I don't like. I just don't like the chewiness. Have you guys eaten at the new Brazilian steakhouse here in town?
No, I haven't.
Is that Carver's?
Carver's? Yeah. I mean,
Oh, I heard it's good.
you're paying for an atmosphere. It's cool. It's all you can eat meat. So
I just gotta throw this out there, like on the Google machine right now.
oh, the Google machine.
I just Googled basically how many feet are elk intestines. Blah 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 blah. The top answers: how long is an elk's body? How big is a 300-inch elk? How big are elk in feet?
I got killed by a 20-foot elk.
See that
then the
elk over there? That's a 30-footer.
The next thing that pops up is what animal has 7 stomachs? Like, where is this going?
What is the answer?
Cows, dude.
That's
No, cows only have 4. Elk have 4. It says actually all animals have just one stomach. It may be divided into parts that perform different digestive functions.
It's people in Florida comparing an elk to like a 12-foot alligator. They're like, we need to know this thing in feet.
Yeah, for sure. But still, though, 28 feet of intestines. I mean,
Is a lot of sausage.
That's a lot of food.
how would you cook that?
Well, the intestines, you're taking everything out of it and you're using it for a casing. That's all it is casing. It's no different than when you get
It's like a chewy, fatty part, really.
but all your sausage, your brats are all in an intestine casing. I mean, it came from the intestines. All the casings for bratwurst and shit is intestines.
Hot dogs, everything but meat.
Yeah,
That's true.
I have no idea how we got ripped on this tangent, but
It was
a
long
good one.
sorry,
it was
people.
good. No, we're good. I guess I'm gonna reel it back to where we were earlier about the conversation of the girls on the guys trip, but we're gonna transition to, since we're going on an ice fishing trip this weekend, it is classified as a Saturday for the boys guys trip. I thought it'd be cool to talk about what goes into planning such thing, and
Food and alcohol. That's all you need. Everything else will come,
I think that there's so many different variables that go into planning, because I'm a big planner, right? And whether it's a weekend fishing trip or whatever, this or that, it seems like Sean and I were on the phone as much as we are for the company trying to schedule a trip and all the things that go into it.
I feel like it's kind of funny because you plan all the stuff. Like, I feel like women plan a lot better for trips like this than men do, because they talk about it like weeks in advance, but they don't actually get anything done until like 48 hours before you leave. And then you're still 2 hours before you're trying to leave, you're still running around to different stores.
Yeah, but then women complain about how much they're paying for it, where guys would be like, you owe me $150, and I'll be like, done.
Like,
You know?
or be like, do we really need this $45 in king crab for the trip?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Man,
Ramsey and I
What's that
spent
one stick? You just share one leg.
Yeah.
everyone gets a bite of crab.
But,
still, though, it is funny because we go around, and every single fishing trip, hunting trip that I ever do is frantically trying to get to 8 different stores before you leave town.
Yeah, but I think there's a learning curve to it too, because I heard that when you guys went on your elk trip this year, that there was food provided, and somehow Sean still bought like $250 worth of groceries, and that's where that's what I'm saying is there is a definite planning strategy to, and we'll just classify them all the same: hunting trips, fishing trips, hunting lodge trips, fishing lodge trips, or like guys trips like this weekend. There's a strategy to it. And I want to say that I was just as bad about that, because Ramsey and I would go on like steelhead fishing trips and stuff like that, and you would get $250 worth of groceries because you were at the store and you just got shit that looked good. You know what I
It's
mean?
the same thing as a kid. The only time you ever got the little fun-sized Snicker bars and the good Mountain Dew that wasn't Shasta was when you were going hunting. Dad would be like, can I get some Absolutely. Grab the big bag, though, But
We're all going to be.
And then you get back from hunting and you're like, can I get this 25-cent lemon heads? Put them back. I don't have that kind of money.
Yeah.
But why do you think that we spend so much freaking money?
I just think that we like just go to the store, and I think we just do it. I don't think because like for us to sit down and like talk about it this week is like, it is kind of a wife thing to do. Like,
Yeah, but we talk about it so much. Like, every single trip that I do is like, everybody is like talking to somebody on the phone way more than we should be about it. It's like, well, we could, and it's like the conversations just drag on and on and on, and it doesn't stop.
It would always be more organized if like a week before you just got together and made a list.
Well, think about Ramsey, like I said, the steelhead trips. You'd spend $250 in groceries, which is already kind of, because we try to budget all of these trips so we can do as many as we possibly can. That's how, a lot of people really don't get to do as much outdoor activity as us because it does, unfortunately, in the world that we're in, cost money to do.
Yeah.
And so Ramsey and I really heavy budget. That's like we're going on a trip with Matt in August to California, and we were just heavy budgeting the whole time, so we could afford to do that, and then 2 weeks later go on a fly fishing trip or something. So that's how we do it. And you can't budget very well when you're spending $250 on groceries every time, and then you get home and you have half the groceries still. Like, you just poorly managed how you did it.
But it's kind of funny though, because you say we budget, we really don't, because it's you go to the store and you're like, oh, this is $385. Yeah, that's a great deal.
Oh
Let's
yeah,
just
we're doing great. Well, and I think a lot of it is like if you're actually going on a trip to do something like hunting or fishing, you spend all of the time doing that and not eating and drinking the stuff that you actually brought, except for maybe breakfast if you have time in the
And
morning.
honey
And
mustard
then
pretzels. for
Shoulder
company.
And then
shoulder
dinner.
shoulder
They're a
season 2 years ago, elk camp.
when me and you were in the, we ate every little bit of food
Yeah, but
that we
the
took
thing
out
was,
there.
Ramsey, this is all Ramsey too, had to buy the Himalayan salt. And,
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, we probably spent we were there for
3 days,
less than 48 hours though,
right?
realistically. And we spent probably $150 at the grocery
I think Ramsey had a good point though. That makes a lot of sense. Where you think you need all this shit,
Things.
Stuff, shit, and things. Got it.
and so you like overplan. You buy all this stuff, and then you end up doing the thing you went to go do most of the time, and then you get back and it's dinner time, and you're like, I didn't eat any. I
What's
didn't
the
eat,
fastest thing to make to
I
where
didn't
can
eat any of the
right now?
jerky or the
Yeah.
chips or any of the stuff
You
that I
eat more
bought.
of the snacks for sure.
I don't think we went above and beyond like hunt last year.
Well, I think that's because we've gotten a strategy down to it. Where
Yeah, you
you're
did.
like,
Turkey hunt, you went over and above.
yeah,
Well, yeah, that's because you were there.
yeah. I mean, that was a had to do situation.
Yeah.
But we can't have our meals every week kind of set in stone on how we do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys would just go to Custer.
Well, that happened more this year than normal, but that was more of a treat for us.
The bar in Custer.
Yeah.
Super, not
Good
the one
burger.
you're thinking of, the one up on the hill.
Oh.
Not the.
I'm thinking of the one down in
steakhouse.
town.
No, the steakhouse up. in
Okay,
town.
I've never
you gotta go.
been
You gotta go to that one. It's so good.
Phenomenal.
But I think that
But it would have been cheap that week. Macy shot her deer had I not been so exhausted by the end of the day. And
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm buying dinner.
because I think that you're more willing to put in a lot of work to make good food out of nothing than like just.
But
'cause
it's
if
a
you
lot of
wanted-
elk. I mean, it's a lot of stuff you guys were bringing.
If you wanted to, you could buy like lunch meat, which actually is relatively expensive if you look at it. Like just buying different amounts of lunch meat and
stupid.
cheese
Yeah.
and cheeseburgers and all this stuff. When we actually just bring elk and deer and
Yeah.
Yeah, all we really had was a bag of potatoes and meat.
that's what I noticed you would start doing is you just get like a bag of potatoes and a bag of onions, and then we'd have that for like 3 weeks of archery season,
Yep.
and we'd maybe spend $50 every weekend.
Riley, what was your favorite meal of the turkey hunt last year?
That's tough, dude. Because
We ate good all
I'm
weekend.
biased because I like the elk steaks Matt's way, like that, but I've
Mm-hmm.
had it so many times that it was unique and fun to have steak and lobster.
We ate lots of good meals, but one of my favorite ones was just that lunch we had around the fire. Was that the last day we were
Those
there?
burgers, right?
Yeah, we done burgers with the onions.
No,
No.
that was
No.
our own separate trip.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
it.
that was just up in the
I think
the hills. We set a fire and we just had cheese and crackers.
Yeah,
and-
cheese crackers and
Yeah,
that's that hot cheese or
yeah.
whatever.
You couldn't beat the
Slaughtered.
view and where you were at.
Unpopular opinion. Matt's breakfasts are otherworldly.
They are good.
The pancakes, sausage, and eggs.
Really, anything Matt cooked was so good.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The only person that does eggs better is Dave. I still can't do them the way
Yeah, you
Dave
can't
does,
beat
but-
Dave.
I would say that, yeah, I think you're right. I think that Matt was just talking about tonight when we were looking through pictures about how much he enjoyed just having that fire on the side of the hill. That was like a bonding experience.
Yeah,
Take a little
for sure.
nap.
Yeah, that was
Yeah, it was,
Think you guys
snow-
found
that
a
meal
shed,
was.
didn't you?
the snow melted
Yeah,
off.
Sean and Ramsey found a shed over there. It was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Snow melted off, and we could just hang out and sit around the fire. And
I think that meal for sure was like more about the experience than what we were actually eating. But the snacks that we were actually eating were still super good.
that spicy cheese from Winco was so good.
Yeah.
I got
and
back
Matt's
on
also
thoughts
that's
now.
also why it's cheaper because Matt's like a Winco whore. So like now, I mean, most of the food he gets pretty like I just don't end up going there because Ramsey and I do Walmart pickups.
Oh, Winco's so much better.
I quit doing Walmart pickups because it seemed like every time you.
Oh, dude, they're so bad anymore. They'd leave like half your freaking thing out.
Well, I don't think they actually look for it. They're just like, oh, we'll just put
We'll
down
just
what we couldn't
substitute.
find it
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
out of stock.
so what I was going with that was, I can look at it now, and I think that like this is how Sean and I have kind of planned, because like really, if you look at it, well, if you're fishing all day, maybe have some jerky in the back, like in the backpack, or like maybe something in the cooler that's like relatively cheap. But like Sean and I took care of the dinners, and I based them really off of like our friends the Harmons. Like they've got tripping down. They've got guys tripping down to like a science.
Oh yeah.
And Matt is very similar, like the way he's just describing, where, and the Harmons do that too, where the one night is burgers and dogs, super easy to do. Maybe bring chips, maybe bring something to go with it, super easy. And then the next night's always like bring your own steak and then potatoes on the flat top. Like just bring a sack of potatoes, a sack of onions, maybe a couple jalapenos, and it's
Well, it's like boating in the summertime now when there's more than us going. We just, each person does dinner. Like you guys will do one whole meal all day. And that seems to work out really good too. Then you're not having to worry about, Riley does 3 meals, it's a 4-day trip and there's 4 people going. Everyone's just responsible for a day.
Well, and I think the nice part about that too is like if different people are cooking, you get different people's tastes and how they like things, and you might find something new that you enjoy.
Unlike the 3 meals we get at camp.
yeah. But I mean, dude, we had an off meal one night because you guys were so tired from
Oh,
cutting
we did.
corn. We had Fritos and chili. That hit the
Frito
spot,
pie.
dude. That was the easiest meal
That
we've
was
ever
super
done.
good.
And your dad had beef stew because he's like, I can't eat that.
Because he gets
It was spicy
Harper.
chili,
Yeah.
that's why.
Yeah.
that was good, man. That hit the spot. It's crazy. I mean, we're getting on quite the food tangent. I guess that's not everything that goes into the guys trip. I mean, coordinating. We're even to the point where we're coordinating vehicles and machines.
You're debating on whether or not it snows.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like you throw in the fact of like who's bringing what gear and like room for this and room for that. It's crazy to think like just to plan a weekend to have a good time anymore is just. We just had a 20-minute conversation about it. I couldn't believe we just made that into a 20-minute conversation, but I don't know. But yeah, so I mean that's kind of another reason Dylan was on is to talk about like he's going ice fishing with us this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
That should be fun.
Yeah.
Do you do much ice fishing ever?
I haven't gone ice fishing in probably 2 years. In high school and stuff, like Super Bowl Sunday and stuff like that, we just run down to the reservoir down below the house and go ice fishing during the day and then run up for the game and just hang out with the high school buddies. Only ice fishing I've ever done was on the reservoir below my house, actually. So.
I bet it was pretty good though.
Oh yeah, we always caught 20 fish.
I believe
25
that.
Fish. Yeah.
So-
It's definitely a different experience though.
Yeah.
You don't like if you don't do it a lot, like because like I've had people like ask me a lot that haven't really done it, and they even
Get out of our screen, damn it.
they just like kind of ask like what do you bring, like what do I need, blah 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 blah.
We didn't even have an ice house.
You're gonna be spoiled this weekend.
It's probably
Sa-
pretty cold,
sa-
wasn't it?
Oh yeah, sat on a 5-gallon bucket with a little ice fishing pole.
Well, go figure. We decided to do this. I mean, what do you think, Dylan? It was about 3 weeks ago we decided to do this trip. 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe.
I think it was first brought up at the finale, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. So
Yeah, it
we've been
was.
thinking
'Cause
about
we,
doing
we
that.
talked about doing the Fresno tournament,
Yeah.
and then we threw out going to.
So this is over a month in planning.
Oh yeah, at least mentioned.
We picked the one weekend somehow where it's literally been 45 plus degrees for 2 weeks now or more. It's now going to be 6 degrees on Saturday and snowing. So
Yeah.
the ice huts will definitely
Maybe the snowmobiles will.
come into play and the
Hopefully we get
snowmobiles.
the sleds out there.
I will say that like the whole thing on getting the gear ready is I've been working on augers in my free time at work for like the last week. Because yours sat for a while because, what was it?
Yeah, the
I
guy.
quit running good.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, yeah, I better pull the carb off.
A fuel leak.
Oh, yeah, it was a fuel leak that I took it over there. And then we just never went ice fishing again. So it sat in the shop for, I don't know, a year and a half. Well, probably not, probably a year. And then I went to start it, and the carburetor was all gummed up again. I was like, oh, cool, I get to do all this again.
All I own is a manual one.
Oh, you're gonna be really spoiled.
Yeah,
I bought a a Jiffy 8-inch auger it might have even been 2 years ago off a marketplace, and the kid's like, oh, it doesn't run. And I was like, we'll see about that. Literally put a spark plug in it and clean the carb, and the thing runs great.
Are we gonna do some spearing?
I don't know if you can.
No, you probably. I don't think you can. Like most of the lakes that you can do the 6 lines on are some of the ones you can spear on too. Like usually when
Where the fish is considered more of a nuisance than a.
yeah, like the only because like walleye, there's gonna be walleye, rainbows, maybe browns, probably
in
in
where
this
we're
lake?
going.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I've ever heard of brown.
Perch,
Yeah.
Perch for sure.
ling.
Yeah, I'm actually super excited for the ling bite.
Are we gonna
Bite
eat
is-
fish there if we catch them?
Yeah,
Yes.
walleye
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure. I will cook us up the best fried Walters that you'll ever have in your life.
What
That
about
means you're just
ling?
gonna put everything out of the spice cabinet on it and be like fish.
No,
So again, $400 in food. You guys just eat fish the whole time. Come
Yeah.
back with like 17 Walmart sacks.
Well, actually, it's gonna be. See, okay. Let me ask you about this. If you bring elk or deer, should you mentally put the price of that into the thing, or is that freebie?
No, I always put the price of it into there.
Because when I think about it, it's like I already have it, so like it's free, but it wasn't free. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So when I look at this, like literally, Sean and I have to like basically get a sack of potatoes, sack of onions. I already got the sack of onions,
and then bring elk steak.
and then bring elk steak, and the burgers. Did Ramsey tell you what I did?
This dude.
I Amazoned a burger press,
Oh my!
so we can make burgers out of elk
Okay.
burger.
Burger.
Did you
Not
have the one that
only
you just push down on.
Did he order a burger press? He ordered one of the most expensive burger presses that was on there.
Yeah, then you could press burgers and freeze them and
Yeah,
throw some parchment between them. Game changer.
You throw an egg in it, and you can just do it by hand.
No,
That
I
works
feel
that's
like-
just
meatloaf
good.
at that point. That's
No,
not a burger.
No, I'd rather
No.
fry a burger
Well,
and
the
then
one I
fry
got,
an
you just
egg
make
and
a
throw it
ball,
on
you put
top.
on your pan, and then you put
Oh
parchment and
no,
you push down on it.
no! This thing's got it's like a cylinder, and then you can actually adjust what depth, like if it's a quarter pounder, half pounder,
It's too much.
pounder,
It's too much.
and then you put the meat in there, and then you just it's like a lever, and then you push it down,
And
then
it
it
makes
makes
it changes the flavor of your meat.
absolutely. You're making smash burgers essentially with what you're doing.
Yeah,
No,
smash
because you're
burgers.
still a half inch. The press is still this.
Oh, well, like I get what you're saying. Yeah.
It just makes you a perfect round burger.
I just thought that I'd rather thaw out elk burger, and it's like I said, it's part of that in my mind free purchase. Instead of going out and buying frozen hamburger patties, I thought it would taste better.
No, I gotta take back. Like, I don't really put the price of the meat into it because, like, when I grab steak out of the freezer and Amy's like, "Jesus Christ, you just took like 10 steaks out for the boys," I'm like, "Yeah, it's in the freezer." Well, if you had to go to Costco, that would be a $200
Yeah.
bill. Well,
Yeah.
I'm like, but it's in the freezer and you don't eat ribeye, so I don't know why it's any of your problem.
It's like going home for Christmas and your mom's like, "Oh, you're going back to Billings." Sends a cooler of meat and steaks, and you're like,
I'm okay
"Nice."
with this.
Yeah, thanks.
My mom never sends me a cooler full of steaks.
Best deer steak I've ever had. Buddy shot one in Forsyth. Couldn't even tell it was deer.
How did you prepare it?
Smoked it on a Traeger.
Smoked on a Traeger.
You know,
So
we,
it's like a steak.
It was just a steak. Couldn't even tell it was deer.
yeah, he didn't press it or anything like that.
Nope.
Ramsey and I used to do that with deer steak too, where you just like cut them up into 3-inch pieces maybe, and put them in a gallon Ziploc, and then
Throw everything in the fridge in it.
throw. Well, it's usually just a whole thing of Italian dressing,
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
and
Super
that,
good
that
that
was pretty
way.
good, and I liked that until Matt showed me how to really cook it good. So that's the only way I do it now.
The only difference with mine is it takes so goddamn long.
It is very labor
You
intensive.
know, you're a 3 hour from start to finish. I mean, not total cook time, but I mean it's total cook time, but I mean you got an hour and a half in the oven.
Now, Ramsey and I, we save the tenderloins for special occasions. And he brought the tenderloins up steelhead fishing last year and cut them into small pieces like that.
Oh my god.
But he just did it with a little bit of butter over on the Blackstone, and it was some of the best steak I've ever had.
Oh, it was super good.
How about turkey? Have you guys got any good turkey recipes?
Yes, brine it for 4 days.
And throw it away.
Yeah. I mean, we've never done it with wild turkey, but we always brine it for like 2 days before Thanksgiving and then smoke it.
Is that kind of like a schnitzel? Is that?
No, he's right. He's right. It's essentially like that, but small pieces.
Yeah.
It's really funny that Matt
Hey,
brings this up.
Actually, though, Sven is gonna make us authentic German schnitzel.
This weekend?
No, he's not coming. This
Oh, he's
weekend.
not.
Oh my god! I was like, holy fuck! I'm taking the week off.
He's actually gonna do it. Like he swear because I want to try it. I mean,
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
Me too.
I love.
Schnitzel's
Cold-
fucking amazing.
Yeah, and
Can
he's got a family recipe. So
Can we talk
Oh, you
about
guys
the
are gonna
turkey?
eat schnitzel in California.
I guess I'm eating schnitzel in California. Let's talk about the turkey thing here real quick. It's hilarious that you bring this up because I have been studying up on different ways to make turkey and goose as well. And I am really looking into making pepperoni because part of Ramsey and I's meal prep is I'll use turkey instead of regular pepperonis. They have turkey. It's like way less calories at the store. And I was like, why can't I just make this at home? Super labor intensive, but I'm gonna give her a go. So I'm going to probably.
Are you gonna smoke it in your Traeger?
So I actually have a smoker, other than my Traeger.
you don't use your Traeger. I get it because you're lame.
no,
more of a
well,
Green
why am I?
Mountain
lame?
guy.
Okay,
I have-
no, hold on.
It's like an actual smoker.
You're aware that we have a 7-month-old yellow lab.
Yeah.
So I have this Traeger, right? It's on the deck. And I walk out there one day.
Had or have?
Hold on.
Oh, it's
Hold on.
Traeger's still
Come on.
there.
Traeger's still there. So I walk out in the yard one day and there's this cord, half of a cord, laying in the middle of the yard. And I'm like, I wonder where she found that. And I didn't think anything of it, put it in the garage, whatever.
Traeger.
And then like 3 days later, I was trying to cook something on the Traeger and I'm like, why won't this thing turn on? I look down and it's like that far from the bottom of where the cord comes out and there's just wires exposed. I was like, I know where that cord goes now.
So the Traeger is out of
It's
commission. now.
inoperable.
You turned the dog into orange chicken and called it.
Yeah.
Take it to the China buffet on Grand Avenue.
So actually, real pepper. I'm gonna get you guys on a pepperoni lesson here because I have been researching heavily. Real pepperoni is actually not even cooked.
I can believe that.
It's you use these. Holy shit! I wish.
Enzymes.
Yes. It's like an old timer type thing, and you put it in the casing and just let it sit for like weeks on end, and then it does whatever it does in there and makes pepperoni.
Kind of like cheese.
Like dry aged.
The last elk hunters I had that I just took out that the two brothers that he brought some summer sausage he made, and he cased it at home himself, and he just cooked on the Traeger. He set it at like 225 for like 14 hours or something,
Yeah.
and that shit was unbelievable. I'm like, I didn't even think about ever smoking something like that on the Traeger.
So, like-
for long term.
That is the two. So summer sausage is normally cooked in a smoker. But pepperoni also there's a different way that you can do it, which is pepperoni itself. The spices are what really make it what it is. Plus, like there's the old school way, like I just talked about it. But you can do the spices and then do it like the summer sausage, where you put it in the smoker for however long in a casing. Because I actually watched this one lady who
Where's the casing come from?
the pepperoni fairy.
The intestines. We just
I know, just kidding. We have to get off the food topic here. I don't know. We were all starving or something.
Taco Bell. No, just kidding.
Simmer down, Dylan.
Taco Bell.
2 of us are on a diet here.
Yeah, that's we'll say I was gonna talk about that on this episode, but I think we've been
We've got a lot going on.
we've been rocking for like an hour already, I think.
hour and 10 minutes. Yeah.
And we have a couple things we have to talk about, so maybe next week. Or no, we have a special guest next week actually.
Thought I was your special guest.
You are our
Different
special
kind of
guest.
special.
You're a Lodge Crew guy. I mean, you're basically a 5th version of us. I mean, you're just as important. That's what we'll say in that conversation.
Yeah.
I'm special. Got it.
But so we have a new voice on the podcast next week that you've never heard, which is gonna be cool. And then the following week we'll talk about it then, because that's before you leave for 10 days. So we'll probably have a podcast with just
That's
the
gonna
4
be
of us.
his first missed.
He's not gonna miss one the way we have it scheduled.
We should
Zoom.
reschedule.
We do have that ability now to do that. That'd be
Can
weird.
we do a podcast while he's in
The race truck?
the race truck?
Oh, it'd be so loud.
What? what?
You should go on that California trip with the boys, and then we could just do a podcast down there at the Mexican restaurant.
That would be cool.
Then you could all do
I
it
told Sean he
afterwards.
could
We
come.
do have-
They fly for free, so.
We do have our lapel mics now too, so
Oh, that is true.
Did nobody just catch what Dylan just said?
no.
Did Dylan have one of his famous in the
He's-
background quote?
He said, Matt goes, we could all do a podcast
In the
at the
Mexican
Mexican restaurant. And then Dylan goes, yeah. And then after, you guys can all do one in the bathroom.
Oh my god.
Classic.
It ain't Taco John's. This is authentic.
What the fuck's Taco John? Come to Montana and try it.
Dude, I don't even know. We had this whole idea tonight to bring Dylan on to continue talking about. I mean, this was such a small part of it, but to talk about his experience on the turkey hunt, to give the listeners that are now putting in for the second annual an idea on what it was like, what everything is, and now I feel like we've gone so long that, and I don't know, Dylan you kind of made a statement too that was like, it might get a little repetitive to talk about it again because we have definitely talked about it before.
I think we could get in just a little bit into like the things that we haven't touched on. I feel like we asked him about the trip. We explained, all of us explained what happened, you know, what we did, but I don't know if we ever showed them or really.
No, we haven't.
Yeah. And like actually had Dylan like ask him what his mentality was going into it.
Well, how about this? Why don't we share some of the behind the scenes pictures and stuff, and then maybe you can kind of tell us about like what the vibe was like in that moment, and you know how the experience really went down.
Because it's our turkey hunt this year is going to be different than it was with you last year. Because the winner gets to bring a guest. Like last year, had you not known us, what were your thoughts been when you came? If you hadn't known anyone, would have you been? You still would have came, but would you rather have brought like your brother with you?
If I didn't know anyone,
Yeah.
I would have liked to have brought someone I knew, but
And you can't bring me or Sean because we were already there.
yeah, see, you guys also know me, and I would have like fit into any situation I would have been thrown into. So I'm like, you know, I'm always willing to meet new
But for
people.
instance, if you had to come and it would have just been me guiding you, you would have still came with an open mind. But But it would have been funner having somebody you know with you.
Yeah, I know it would have been fun to have someone with you that you already have a relationship with, that you know, meet new people too.
And that's what we're doing this year.
Yeah.
We spiced it up, I guess you should say.
Yeah, and I would say as far as like, you know, the vibes last year were, you know, important to get Dylan on a turkey and get what you got the raffle for to win, you know. And this year is gonna be a lot different because when we have two people, and we offered, you know, it's offered in the raffle hunt where you can bring whoever you want. That person is also allowed, you know, this is a winning.
As long as they're a legal person. Though.
Yeah, they can shoot a turkey as well. So you win 2 turkey hunts essentially. Yeah. But if you wanted to bring your significant other and they don't hunt, that's also just fine too. You know, whatever. So let's say that you bring someone that hunts and there's 2 people hunting. Well, with the group we have, you're going to have a guide. So let's say it's going to be Matt, a camera guy, and a hunter, and then they're going to have to go somewhere else with the other 3 people. Yeah. You know, whereas last year we all got to go together and really experience you shooting a turkey all as one.
Oh yeah.
Whereas this year it's going to be 2 different experiences, 2 different film things. It's different, but I think it's still going to be just as much.
Yeah.
It's going to be as much fun.
And last year probably could have been totally different if I hadn't met Ramsey and Sean before then. I met Riley right before.
Yeah, that would probably. I mean, we have known each other probably for.
Yeah, I don't think I met Matt
weeks.
till we were actually on the trip.
Yep.
So I mean, I'm sure it was totally different for me knowing some of you guys than just a random person getting thrown in and going out with you. But yeah, no, it's really cool you could bring someone with you this year. That's gonna be really cool.
You can truly see the pure excitement in Dylan's face when you look at this picture.
Oh God.
That's a good picture.
It's a solid
picture.
It is.
Solid.
This is
That's
you.
a big beard.
This is your first. Is that your first turkey ever?
Oh
I
yeah.
can't remember. So
other than the ones you see in Walmart. So
okay, fair point. Fair point.
Butterball.
So yeah, this was a real. I wasn't ready for you to come back to me.
Shell
but
shocked.
That was you right after you had harvested that turkey.
Wait, here's another better.
Did I
Here's
half-ass
another-
shotgun a beer, got bullied.
Here's another good one here. I mean,
Ooh, yeah.
He looks even more excited. I think Matt actually looks more excited in that picture than Dylan does.
That's
Yeah.
What?
fun.
Also, looking at that picture, I remember Matt saying, "Hey, here, grab my turkey call and hold it in the picture." So,
It's very aesthetically pleasing.
it is a good picture.
there's the GoPro that Dylan wore the whole time.
know he
There's
did.
some hilarious footage from that.
He's falling down a cliff. No.
I mean, okay, honestly though, like going back to that, was it weird? And be honest, was it like a little weird for you to like get?
Guided around.
No, not that. Like get into like being filmed on a hunt. Was it like kind of hard?
Well, it's different because I mean, like, usually you have your buddy next to you, but then you also have Ramsey over there, like 40 feet, hiding behind trees with a camera, and you're like,
Sneaky.
yeah, you're like, you can see Ramsey, and you're like, God, Ramsey's doing good. I can't even hear him.
Yeah, and then, like Matt would be with you, and then
Yeah.
I would be in another 50 yards the other
Yep.
direction calling.
Yep.
And then Ramsey and Sean were usually together filming, and yeah, filming is a whole weird thing for us too. But I'm sure as a guest, I mean, and we also, last year that was a thing that we said in the advertisement was like it's a filmed and guided hunt.
Mm-hmm.
This year we didn't really advertise the film part because I mean we're still going to do it because we want content for our YouTube channel that we're really pushing this year. But
Yeah.
it's just not like a focal point. The focal point is more, getting successful hunts.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, getting a successful hunt. I think the difference is you kind of came into this guiding last year with me, not really. You guys have hunted turkey, but like after Dylan hunted and you took clients out for Dave and you learned how to fan in turkey and go above and beyond your experience from what you knew, I think going into it this year is going to be unbelievable.
Well, it's kind of funny because I've been thinking lately. I was like, dude, I could so easily like happily take a month off and just hunt turkeys with Dave and these clients for
Just hang out.
because like after, and I don't want to talk about the one trip I had because I know I've talked about it here before, but after I had like a solo guided deal where I called him in with my mouth call and the decoy, and like it was so awesome. And we, it's funny sometimes when you look at, and tell me if you guys think the same thing with hunts that you've been on before. If sometimes you like that mental thing in the back of your head where you're like, nah, I don't want to go down there. Or like that's a lot of work to do there, and you just push past that and just dive into it. Sometimes some really crazy, and I used to see this in football too, like where if I was just like, I'm just gonna like throw my body at this, even if it like I get hurt or something, and see what happens, and like it could put you in a position to get a sack or something like that. But I've done that with hunting, and I did that with that turkey hunt last year where I was like, I could hear these turkeys down in this basin, and it was like a 3/4 of a mile straight down and then another 2 miles to get to them. And I was like, screw it. This is the end of the day. These guys got to go home. And I went down there and had that experience. And like to this day, I'm just like, I could do that every day.
Yeah, and like, a big question that I wanted to ask Dylan too on this is I feel like we haven't touched on this very much at all on camera. What was your like expectation realistically? Like be 100% honest going into that weekend.
Going into that weekend?
Yeah.
Well, I had no idea how big the actual ranch was. I'm used to having access to, a couple thousand acres, to, make the loop in the morning, and then if you don't see anything, wait until the late afternoon, and make another loop. I didn't realize how just big that really was. I'm thinking, well, maybe we'll see turkeys one day, we'll go back and we'll eat food and play poker and hang out, I didn't realize how much animals we were going to see until I was actually up there. We saw, I don't know how, at least over 1,000 turkeys in the couple days we were up there. Probably a couple thousand easily from a distance because that snow made it hard to sneak up on them. But we glassed quite a
when we
few.
buried the ranger.
Yeah.
That was an evening. I didn't know if we were ever going to get out of there that night. But
What would you say your extracurricular. I can't say this word.
Extracurricular.
Extracurricular. Is that correct?
Nailed it.
Your extracurricular lures. I hope that's a word. But that happened on that hunt. Do you think? Well, I mean, did that help your experience with like?
Oh yeah, we shot a bear. Well, not we, but Matt shot a bear. Got to be along for that experience. That was really cool. We stuck the Ranger real good. Didn't know if we were gonna get home that night. Ranger broke down, and we rinsed it off the mud and everything out, and fan was quitting us. So
I forgot that happened.
yeah, no, it was all around. There was never a dull moment, to be honest. So I had a good time.
I don't think we could have planned it really any better.
No,
The only way that would have made it better is if it was a week later when there was no snow. There was no snow because the instant the snow went away, even though we were able to get some turkeys to commit to some calling with Dylan, every single group I got into, and I know Dave was the same way for weeks. It was like prime elk rut. That
Well,
we
the
got.
very next week, I mean, Dave had a client shoot a damn turkey from the shitter. I mean,
Yeah,
he called one.
that
into
would have
the
made my
shitter.
morning. No,
yeah.
So, I feel like there was a lot of firsts on that trip as well. Realistically,
Well, it was the first for you and I
yeah.
hunting together
And
or
Dylan.
doing anything together.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is crazy to think. That was like really you
Matt-
guys hadn't even met.
Matt's first
no,
bear.
no,
Like maybe a couple podcasts, maybe.
maybe 3. I mean, it was less than a month. I mean,
But the cool thing was too is like Matt and I experienced our firsts in different hunts.
Yeah, turkey, bear.
I mean, that was really cool to be able to. Obviously, the whole goal of that trip was to get Dylan. his
well, it was the first for
turkey.
you too on that ranch.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was the first time I ever had been to that property, and then, like the first for Dylan to shoot his first turkey. Obviously, that was the goal of the whole weekend.
And they got done so quickly. I mean, it was
Right.
Dylan's turkey was shot like was it the first morning or was it the second morning?
Second.
Yeah. Well, no, I
No,
guess
it was the first morning because we
no,
hunted the afternoon.
it
of the
was. We
first
got
day.
there Friday, and it was
Yeah,
the first morning,
yeah.
and I shot that bear right after.
Yeah, so like basically the Friday evening was just more of it always tends to be more of a scouting thing anyways. And then Dylan's your first actual hunting Saturday morning right away, Dylan shoots his turkey. Boom, we're
We
done.
went down the Turkey Ridge that first evening, and there was nothing. Remember?
Yeah, and
Just the pure. I mean, just look how happy Matt is. I mean, really, just look at it.
oh yeah, when he got that bear Saturday afternoon. And like we've talked about that in the past, like that was such an unplanned like Dylan was done turkey hunting, and then all of a sudden Sean was done turkey hunting. Sean shot his first turkey. And then all of a sudden Ramsey shoots a turkey. And then I, with how much I was going to be out there that year, I really had no plans on shooting a turkey myself because I could, any given weekend that I was out there, I could do it. So we're like, what do we do now? And Matt's like, well, we could hunt bear. And I know I just recently talked about this in the podcast, but it was just so much like, okay, we'll go hunt bear, Matt. And so, we ran back and got all of our equipment to bear hunt with. And it was a matter of minutes after we went and did that Matt shoots a bear, the only bear I've ever seen on this ranch other than when we were cutting corn this year. But just Matt was talking about it too, just like sometimes things line up where everything happens correctly and you don't plan it that way. Like it just happens. And
Well, I think the thing that changed is, if you remember right, Friday night I wasn't feeling it Friday night after going down to Turkey Ridge where we should have had 1,300 turkey, and there was nothing, and it was a hard pill to swallow.
yeah. And then I
And
don't
the
know.
snow, I mean, shoot, we got up on top and ran in them turkey, but heck, we were pushing snow at the top of the Ranger.
Well, and I think what really changed it was, down low by the rivers, historically, even if you're hunting eastern, Midwest, Western, the turkeys are usually down by the cottonwoods and down by the river. Like that's just where they live. And for Matt to be like, hey, let's just go up. Let's go up on the mountain. And they were everywhere, literally everywhere. And I know Dylan ended up shooting his in a different spot completely other than that, but the turkeys that were in the timber was the more crazy thing. And I don't know if the snow drove them up there. It couldn't have been because I was hunting them there They just must like it up there, and it's more. I think it's more fun.
Well, but the Southern Hills, if you remember right, the snow was deep, but the Southern Hills had a little openings
oh
in
yeah.
the grass. Remember?
Well, and I guess, it's all the same, the river bottoms and stuff like that. But I thought hunting turkey up in the timbers is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, it would have been a lot better had that snow not. I mean, how many stalks did we do that we didn't?
We did have a lot of busted stalks, didn't we, Dylan?
3 or 4, probably.
You know, and I feel like the cool thing too is that even though like we were at the point where we wanted to take a lot of film, which we did, but we never basically made a hunt series out of it. We still got like Ramsey put together an awesome video that explained the whole weekend that I think.
And that's on YouTube, correct, Ramsey?
Yeah.
The
totally
teaser.
pull it up
We have a teaser for it. You know,
Yeah, we can play that.
this is kind of like our. Go ahead.
Have you seen that, Dylan?
I think so, but jog my memory.
Oh man, there we go.
Sean doing the smolder.
That's when you guys left me in the Ranger.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Dylan right after he got his turkey. Steak and lobster.
Hell of a meal.
I'd also like to say that Ramsey and I double teamed that video.
Yeah, I don't know if we really double. It was more I was making the video, and you were like, "Let's try it this way and
is
see if
the
it."
Bull Mountain Brothers.
I am sorry.
Oh my God, Sean, you have one job. God, this guy.
But yeah, as far as filming goes, we had all these intentions of making it like a full feature film out of it, and
We had
it's
so
still
much-
there. It's still there.
Yeah.
And I guess with I'm gonna have you do a little clip for me at the end of this when the podcast is over for our Facebook. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna release, just for advertising for the turkey hunt this year, we're gonna release most of the footage from that hunt through our Instagram and Facebook stories. I've seen Hush and stuff do that before, and it's just gonna be a condensed version of it, but it'll give you a pretty good idea what Dylan, the experience that Dylan had
Yeah.
while we were out there. I don't know if I'll use the GoPro footage, but
Most of it probably wasn't good.
a lot of and that's crazy thing too is we have 3 cameras now, and back then we only had Ramsey's one camera with
Yep.
the shitty lens on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were very.
We were not equipped to
No.
make the film that we wanted to make.
We were
Whereas
greenhorns.
now,
You know what's super funny is we're talking about this, how super greenhorns, and we're like, oh, we got 3 cameras now. In like 5 years, we're gonna look back and be like, Jesus Christ, we had nothing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it's, I mean, with every podcast and every person, their learning curves are so big, and they're just going up. I mean, and that's exactly where we're at compared to a year ago. I didn't know you, Sean. I mean, we've came a long ways. We can hunt together now. I kind of know what you're doing. We went duck hunting with you guys, and it's just different stuff we're doing. The hunt with Dylan, the hunt coming up here. That's 4 months away.
Yeah. Well, and it almost makes me kind of sad that Dylan's not there this year. I hope this doesn't foreshadow him accidentally winning again, because then we'll get uproar. But it's like we had such a good time. I feel like
Oh yeah.
that it's like, man, I wish we could do it over again. But
Yeah.
I think we'll have just as much fun with whoever wins this year too.
Oh, for sure. And it would be a cool thing to ask too. Is like, Dylan was in here, when we basically had this thing thrown together in a sense. So like for you, somebody that's come in here, and I would say this studio is 98% of what we want it to be.
I don't know. That's relative because it changes.
It
I got pretty drunk and helped drywall in here once.
That is true.
But like as far as like the first time that you came in here, what I mean, is it like is it a lot different, do you think?
Oh, it's amazing how much it's changed. I finally played the Buck Hunter like last week. That was pretty fun. Definitely not going to beat Matt's records.
I suck now. I gotta start practicing again.
I was gonna say that it's like what's it like to get the filming experience, but then I realized I was like, we definitely filmed at least one, if not both of your podcasts.
Yeah, we filmed that one night in the cabin. I
At
think.
the
Yes, we
cabin,
did.
yeah.
Mhm.
Did we film the one that was here? Maybe not.
I don't remember.
We were kind of torn on though.
And then we filmed the season finale, which
Is this my fifth one now? I guess counting
Fourth.
the finale.
well,
fourth?
1, 2, 3.
The finale.
Yeah,
and
this
then
would be your
one.
fifth podcast.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
now the most veteran guy on the podcast. You have overtaken Josh.
Where was Chad? Wasn't Chad up there?
Chad was close. He was 4,
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
4.
Yeah.
but
Got it. No, it's come a long ways. I'm excited to see where this takes you guys, and I'm glad I could be along the way for sure.
Yeah. We're happy to have you be the first Lodge Crew guy of 2023.
Yes.
We needed
We
some
gotta throw it out there. You can win the turkey hunt this year if you buy all 500 tickets.
Oh.
yeah.
Take a loan out.
So yeah, thanks for coming in and kind of just
Oh, thanks for
talking a
having
little
me.
bit more about what it was like, because I know that we were all saying when we were done, just like, God, that's a top 5. I mean, to get that many experiences in one weekend, that only happens once a year, once every couple years, and
Oh, that was one of my favorite memories of 2022. So
that's good, man.
I'm glad I could be a part of it, and glad it got to do it with you guys.
Well, it really budded a relationship with you with us too. I mean, now
Yeah.
we're headed on an ice fishing trip. I mean, not that you may have already been doing this with Ramsey and Sean, but now like we're all hanging out, and maybe
yeah.
maybe that could happen with our next winter. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
sure.
thanks for coming on. Do we have anything that we need to? I'm going to say it here because I think by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be out this Friday. Sean and I will have it figured out, but so the podcast listeners might be the first ones to hear this. We're going to be running on all merchandise on the website. We're running what was the percentage we were going to do? We're going to be running a 15% discount on all merchandise in the store, and that's going to drop probably this week. Just a way to give back to you guys so you can get some more Bull Mountain Brothers merchandise, and we can get not better. I really liked a lot of the stuff we had, but just different and new merchandise.
New merch, I'd say, yeah.
And so get ready for that to happen. The raffle tickets are out and they're ready to go. If you run into us, we'll have tickets to sell. If you're on one side of town and you don't have our phone number or something, you can always contact us at bullmtnbrothers@gmail.com. At that, or our Facebook Messenger. Sean gets messages there. Ramsey and I get messages there. If you want to have us come to you, we will come to you to sell tickets. So we're very motivated to get these sold because we're very excited to, as we spoke about last week, give some money back this year to the Starlight Foundation. So we want to raise as much money as we can to give them as much as we possibly can. So we're really excited to move forward with that. As far as anything else goes, I believe this is it for tonight, unless you guys have anything to add.
I think that about covers it.
Check out our YouTube. Last week's episode. I mean, these episodes. I will say we had a little snafu last week. We kind of learned that you definitely need an Ethernet cable to post an hour-and-a-half podcast on YouTube, because now that we sat and think about it, like most YouTube videos are like 10, 15 minutes long.
Yeah. The upload speed on our Wi-Fi and BFE was not
Yeah.
up to
So
par.
we had it premiered for Friday nights, and we had advertised that they were going to be out 6 p.m. every Friday. We're changing that to noon on Saturdays now. So when the YouTube version comes out, it'll be noon on Saturdays, and they'll always have a premiere. So when it says upcoming on YouTube, that is legitimate, and that'll be consistent every week. We don't want to have inconsistencies in our posting times anymore. So that will be good. And as far as we're calling this season 2, episode 2, but it's really episode 49. This concludes, I believe, everything we have to talk about. And as always, we will catch you on the next one.
Thanks, Dylan.
Later.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Bull Mountain Brothers.
Hey, if you're looking for more Bull Mountain Brothers, be sure to follow us on TikTok and Instagram at bull_mountain_brothers and Facebook and YouTube at Bull Mountain Brothers.
Also, don't forget to check out our B&B store at bullmountainbrothers.com, where you can find some super sweet deals on some seasonal merchandise and outdoor gear.